So thank you everybody for joining us for our Lunch and Learn, where we're going to spend some time talking about the role of PMO changing as we adopt Agile and as we adopt a value stream management approach, and really how that new value management office is going to lead the way into the future way of working and is a core component of the LACE. So a little bit about me and about Agile Rising. So I'm Chris Ruch, I'm an SPCT, and I'm the CEO of Agile Rising. I'm joined by a couple other members of the Agile Rising team. We've got two other SPCTs joining us for this conversation. We've got Michelle Warner and Marshall Guillory, who are going to be helping here with the conversation. We do hope it is a conversation. Hope that you've been having a good summit and watching the keynotes. One of the great things about these Lunch and Learns is that we're actually all here live with each other and we can have some conversation. So there is a presentation. We are going to talk about some things to guide the conversation, but we really want this to be, you asking questions, us giving you information. So our goal here isn't to get through our PowerPoint. Our goal here is to get you thinking about some new things and have some conversation. So feel free to use the chat. Feel free to use the raise hand feature and those sorts of things. And we're happy to give you information that's valuable for you. So what we're talking about here is really the evolving role of a project management office in a company that's adopting SAFe and adopting a transformation. And as we make this transition to thinking about value streams and aligning products to value streams, well, we're really putting that focus on value. And as we do that, we're really looking at changing the way that we think about how we prioritize, thinking about how we change the business model. And often that leads to frustrations about what we're actually achieving because we don't get the real results, the ultimate value that we're looking for, right? We can speed up development, we can reduce our development time, but not necessarily impact our overall delivery time. Often it's unclear why that's happening, where it's happening, and often we're losing focus on the actual outcomes and the actual delivery of value. And I'm coming at this kind of from the perspective of both a SAFe transformation coach and an SPCT, as well as somebody that has a background in traditional project management and has led project management offices. So I started off as a software developer. I became a certified project management professional, and I've been involved in PMI, and I led a project management office that won our local PMO of the Year award here with the Pittsburgh chapter of PMI a number of years ago. So I have a background that really started in that traditional project management approach. And then over the last 10 or 12 years, I've really focused on helping organizations make this transition. And so that's what we're really going to talk about here today, is some lessons learned and what it looks like to really migrate and transform the project management office into something that's really aligned to our value way of thinking. And what we're trying to address here is that the fact that many, if not most, Agile transformations never realize the full benefits that they could because they've only optimized part of the organization. And there's lots of examples here of companies that are now on their second or third version of an Agile transformation and are trying to adopt, tried implementing Scrum, and that didn't really produce the results they wanted. So now you're adopting SAFe. I've seen some organizations that have tried a team level Scrum, scaling Agile, trying to do a DevOps transformation. right? And continue to struggle with really hitting the mark on generating the benefits. And when we talk about organizing around value and talking about a VMO, it's really about that delivery of value. So, kind of question here to all of you who are participating. Any of that resonate with you? Anybody here participating that's on your second or third round of an Agile transformation, or struggled with, hey, we've launched Agile teams or arts, but haven't really seen the real business outcomes that we intended? The chat is quiet. All right. So let's go to the annual State of Agile report. So this is from this year's 15th annual State of Agile report from our friends at Digital AI, and look at what are the things that companies are measuring as part of their DevOps transformation, right? What are the things that really are identifying whether we're successful? And we can see, the main things here: accelerating delivery of value, improving quality. The vast majority of companies are looking at those, right? So we know Agile and DevOps can really speed up our delivery. But when we look at this, what's going on down here? Only a third of the companies look at it as a critical measure of success, aligning delivery with the business objectives and increasing visibility of flow to our users. That's a really low number of companies that are focused on that, right? And the problem here is, if your company is only focused on going faster or improving quality, well, how do you know if you're going in the right direction, right? That going faster is really only a good thing if we're aligned on what our business objectives are and aligned on the delivery of value. And in my own career, I've experienced this as a traditional project manager and leading PMOs. Often what I was measured on was, are we hitting milestones? Are we completing the check boxes? Are we doing the right level of documentation? Are we getting the right sign-offs? Were often the primary measure of success rather than the delivery of value. So what we really need to be thinking about here, and kind of what I'm challenging all of you to think about here as PMO leaders and value stream leaders, is making this delivery aligned to business objectives and the flow of business value go way up on this chart. I'm hoping that in next year's 16th annual State of Agile, or in the 17th annual State of Agile, that we see those numbers be above 50%, and that you have all of your companies that are focusing on it. Right. Right. So if you're part of those 2/3 of companies that are not using the value delivery as your key measures of success, this presentation's for you, right? We're going to talk about why that's important and how you can start to move to it. So something else for us to consider: how many of you here are in companies that are doing project to product transformations along with your SAFe and Agile and DevOps transformations? Right. So very often when we're talking about implementing SAFe, we're explicitly talking about moving away from projects, moving to a project-based focus, and we're aligning around value streams. So we're a partner with TaskTop. We do a lot of work with the TaskTop team around value metrics and flow. And quote here from from Mik Kersten's book, right? The problem is that the principles of modern software delivery are not translating to the business, right? We're not driving those business outcomes that we're looking for. But yeah, and more broadly, right? We all know that in SAFE we say that the future it belongs to the companies that have really mastered large-scale software development and aligning around value streams and that visibility, the flow, the delivery of value, right? That's pretty core to Scaled Agile's approach and things that we teach, right from the beginning in leading SAFE and in implementing SAFE. But where does that leave the project management office? Right? We often in the PMOs and the large companies and LACEs that we work with and that we coach, there's often a great deal of uncertainty around, like, where's that leave all of our project managers and program managers, and where does it leave the PMO, and what's the PMO's role now that we have a LACE and all of those sorts of things. So value streams and aligning around value streams is core to SAFE. It's really one of the things that's driving the Agile movement and the DevOps movement right now, is a real focus on our value streams, on aligning those value streams to a lean portfolio management approach, and aligning our value streams around our products, identifying our products and our services, right? So we identify those value streams, we align our teams around those value streams, and then we have the benefits of those value streams, right? We know much more clearly how value flows through the organization. We've got much more optimal teams and we've aligned people around those. We can align our strategy and our funding and our budgeting with the execution, which are all things that impact the traditional role of program and portfolio management, and realign around our new way of working, right? So, but the question here is, if you're making this transition, what's the role of the PMO, and what happens to those of you that are in a PMO or who are leading PMOs, right? So this idea of shifting from a PMO to a VMO is one that's becoming increasingly popular, right? Sometimes we'll talk about, we're gonna transition our PMO to an Agile PMO, or we're gonna have the PMO be part of a LACE, and a number of the organizations that the Agile Rising teams works with really aren't comfortable with that new language, right? That continuing to retain project management office, or even if we change it to portfolio management office or product management office, still using that kind of traditional term is not, doesn't represent enough of a change, right? So we're seeing a lot of kind of a rise in popularity around this term value management office, that if we no longer have projects and we're shifting to a product focus, well, who's responsible for the products themselves? It's usually not the people that were previously in the PMO. That's usually the realm of the business and our business owners and our product managers. But what we really need to make sure what we're focusing on is who's optimizing those value streams and the ultimate delivery of the value. And that's partially the role of the teams and the Agile release train and the leadership of those Agile release trains, but it often goes much beyond that, right? So when we think about true business agility, and we talk about the metrics in SAFE, and if you haven't gone and looked at the new metrics article in SAFE. I encourage you to do so. The metrics has really undergone a significant change just within the last couple months. So if you haven't looked at it recently, there's stuff out there for you to really look at. And this is part of it, right? Metrics aligned to our business agility. And if we're not really thinking about the entire value stream, and we're not talking about the flow metrics through that value stream, what we often see are team level and agile release train level metrics that really only focus on kind of the middle portion of this value stream, right? And we see organizations trying to do KPIs on PI objectives and struggling with that concept because you don't really have outcomes, right? We can do KPIs and we can show that things have been accomplished within the development team, but we often need to look much further out to see the real business outcomes, and that goes well beyond development, and it goes into those flow-based metrics and the operational metrics that go all the way out into how is the customer actually receiving the value. And so the question here is, who's focused on these metrics in your organization, right? These are often much more comprehensive than what we have within a single Agile release train. Some of these may be things that the business is looking at. Some of them may be things that we're looking at during our portfolio reviews and portfolio syncs. But the idea here is that as you shift away from projects and you shift to value streams, we need to be really clear about who's gathering these metrics, how you're gathering those metrics, and changing the concept. So this is where we get into the idea of the VMO and transitioning away from how we manage projects and move into thinking about how we manage those long-lived value streams, how we do the funding of those value streams, and how we gather the right flow-based metrics for those value streams. Okay. So one of the things that we often see organizations struggle with is lack of alignment between the existing traditional project management office and the implementation of SAFE and the LACE. And from an organizational change management, like the worst thing that we can see is a PMO and a LACE kind of trying to stake out territory with each other, or not really being aligned on the goals of a transformation. So what we want to see, and what we really want PMO leaders to do is do what they've always done, which is lead the way, and be the part of the organization that drives the change, and that is really enabling the rest of the organization to align around value, right? So this is not easy. It's something that requires changes within your executive leadership. It's changes within the traditional PMs in the organization. And it needs to be viewed as just as significant as launching Agile release trains, implementing Agile within your development teams and the broader part of your organization. And it's often part of your LPM implementation, which is really what we're going to kind of finish out here the last few minutes of our session talking about the tools that SAFE gives you to try to help make this transformation. So little quote here. I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm currently sitting here in Pittsburgh. So a good quote here from one of our native sons, Andy Warhol. They always say it's time for say times change things, but you actually have to change them yourself. So what we really want to do is inspire you and kind of equip you as PMO members and as leaders of organizations to drive the change. So little sample of the roadmap here that we're going to encourage you to go down. And we're not going to go through all of the bullet points here. You can capture it with a screenshot or get it on the recording of this. But transforming your VMO is an important part of implementing lean portfolio management. It's an important part of driving your overall transformation. And you need to have the roadmap for implementing these changes and the tools and the metrics and the cadence of events. You need to have a roadmap for that, just like you have a roadmap for implementing the rollout of your Agile release trains throughout your organization. So the kind of the bad news here is it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that that you need to do here, and you can see that just from these really high level bullet points and how many of them there are. The good news is that there's help for you to get there, right? There's help in the form of the lean portfolio management class and the toolkit that comes along with it. There's help in the form of gold SPCT partners like Agile Rising that have helped other companies do this and can help you do it. So some things here that we're going to leave you with to think about. And then we're going to really open this up to conversations and questions. And if you have more than 5 minutes worth of conversations and questions, you're in luck, because we're all going to be over at the Agile Rising booth, and you can come and chat with us there for as long as you'd like, or at least till the end of the summit today. So what we want to challenge you to here is really lead the way. So PMOs should be leading by example, showing that you're embracing the transformation and get started. Right, the sooner you start, the more success you're going to have, and the biggest challenge is not getting started. Right, that you'll inspect and adapt, and you'll make it work along the way, but you need to really commit to making this change and helping your traditional project managers and traditional PMOs align around the vision for the future and get started. A good place to get started with this is the Safe Lean Portfolio Management training. That class incorporates some of what we're talking about here. It incorporates some other things beyond what we're talking about from a funding and budgeting and strategic planning perspective. But one of the things that lean portfolio management class is really good for is getting your leaders aligned and getting started with the LPM Getting Started workshop. And I'll put out a little pitch here that there's been a lot of work being done over the course of the last 6 months to create a new version of the LPM Getting Started workshop, which is going to be released starting within the next couple weeks and be available to you and your organization. So even if you've looked at that in the past, it's going to be a good time to take a look at the new toolkit that's coming out here in the next couple of weeks. And that LPM Getting Started workshop is really going to help you put together your roadmap and take these ideas and create a custom implementation for your organization. And with that, I'm going to stop talking and turn things over to you and your questions.